This is the world's most dangerous prison. Its name is Black Dolphin or Kara Yunus. This prison is only for those serving life sentences. There is no second chance here, no soft ending, and for decades there was not even the slightest thought of escape until that rare event in 2016. I will come back to that part later, but before that I need to know, could you survive even one day in this hell? Think about what the intake process is. Like when a new inmate arrives, first you bend forward from your waist. Then your hands are handcuffed high behind your back, and finally your eyes are blindfolded. The guards take you through echoing corridors so you can never memorize the building's layout. Imagine being constantly watched by cameras and officers with the door checked every few minutes. You are forced to stand for most of your waking hours, and you can only speak when permitted. Think about what really happens if you cross paths with any guard in this frozen hell. Do you just lose some privileges, or do you experience something much worse? They say no one ever escapes Black Dolphin, so what happened in 2016 when an inmate escaped from a work area? Black Dolphin is located in the town of Soliletsk in Russia's Orenburg region. Its origin dates back to the 18th century, to the time of Russian Empress Catherine the Great, when it was built as an old type of prison surrounded by wooden palisades. In the 2000s it was converted into a special regime prison for inmates sentenced to life imprisonment. Officially only inmates with life sentences are held, but occasionally, people convicted of lighter crimes from the Orenburg region are also sent here. Imagine serving time in the same place as cannibals and serial killers. At that point you realize how heavy the price of even a simple mistake can be. Black Dolphin currently houses about 700 of Russia's most dangerous criminals. It is estimated that these inmates have committed approximately 3,500 murders, meaning on average each one has killed 5 people. That is a truly terrifying number. It is known as one of the few nationwide prisons where those sentenced to unconditional life imprisonment are held. This system began to be applied after Russia imposed a moratorium on the death penalty in the 1990s. This regulation, which came into force as part of the process of joining the Council of Europe in 1996, meant that death sentences were automatically commuted to life imprisonment. So Black Dolphin still harbors a disciplinary approach dating back to the Soviet era. It is seen as the final stop of a system built on control, punishment, and isolation. This place is also known for its harsh winters and freezing cold. Of course, when you add sensors, surveillance towers, razor wire, and rules that make it impossible for inmates to form a mental map, what emerges is truly a frozen hell with no escape. Every cell is protected by a 3-door security system. Yes, no risks are taken here. Most inmates rarely see each other, and dangerous prisoners are usually kept alone, but in some rare cases, 2 inmates have to share the same cell. I am talking about an area the size of a storage locker, approximately 47 square meters. Cameras watch constantly, the lights never go out, and guards check constantly on every cell door. A sign indicating the inmate's crimes hangs. All your criminal history is written there for everyone to see, which of course instantly destroys even the slightest empathy the guards might feel. The tattoos on the inmates' bodies reflect a separate criminal resume: stars on the shoulders, church figures on the chest, barbed wire on the wrists. These are not decorations, they are symbols of rank in the criminal world, just like that secret hierarchy in the John Wick movies. At the bottom layer are inmates known as the untouchables. Many are people convicted of crimes against children. They are usually kept separate from the others to survive. A legend was told for years that no one could escape Black Dolphin, but this legend ended in October 2016. Alexander Alexandrov, an inmate, managed to escape from the concrete block facility where he worked less than a year before the end of his sentence. His location was not the high security part of the prison, but a lower security settlement area where those with lighter crimes could move more freely. This event was recorded as the first official escape in the prison's history, and perhaps the most chilling part of the story was that Alexandrov was never found again. Newspapers stopped reporting the story shortly after the incident, as if he had never existed. Maybe he truly attained freedom, or perhaps Russian authorities found him and chose to give him his punishment in a different way. Who knows? Falling into Black Dolphin creates a feeling like hitting a wall. Every new day begins at 6 a.m. and inmates are expected to stand bolt upright next to their beds. Sitting or lying down is forbidden for about 16 hours. You can only sit when a guard gives permission. Only 90 minutes of short exercise time is granted each day, and that too inside another cage. Of course, every command given is answered with a military discipline such as "yes sir," and every mistake made is corrected instantly. Meals consisting only of plain soup and bread are pushed through a small opening in the door 4 times a day. The system is designed to be constantly repetitive, suffocating, and deliberately intended to slowly crush you. Survival in Black Dolphin begins entirely with discipline. You must obey all commands given. No resistance or deviation from the rules. Act as the guards expect and never deviate from the schedule. Your mind will be your next battlefield. Keep it busy. Read, meditate, memorize chess moves. Those sentenced to life imprisonment cling to routines like a life raft, and the library offers a rare chance to escape. Peace in narrow cells comes from maintaining your space, avoiding unnecessary arguments, and never provoking your cellmate, especially when you consider that he might be a serious criminal. You should never stop while in the small cage-like exercise yard. Do push-ups, squat, draw circles, keep your body active, and finally take care of your health with limited medical care and deadly risks. Report symptoms early, otherwise waiting can be fatal. Survival in Black Dolphin is not always about strength, it's about discipline, adaptation, and protecting both your body and mind. However, the problem is that this is a place designed to break both, and believe me, while living in the same place as Russia's worst criminals, you always need to be smart. In the 1990s, the city of Tolyatti, Russia was not exactly a safe place for children, and the reason was Oleg Rilkov. Rilkov could turn ordinary moments into traps, such as asking for help from someone knocking on the door. Outwardly it seemed harmless until the door opened. In a chilling interview with Russia's federal television channel Daryl TV, Rilkov showed a small window into his monstrous mind. He became known as the Tolyatti Ripper, yes, just like Jack the Ripper, according to court records. Rilkov's horrific crime spree lasted from 1992 to 1997. During this time he attacked at least 37 children and killed 12. Although the numbers vary according to sources, the terror always remained the same. This was not a ghost story, this was a failure of the policing system, and the post-Soviet era law enforcement was severely under-resourced. Forensic equipment was lacking, and most crimes were overlooked when they crossed regional boundaries. On June 30th, 1996, police caught Rilkov trying to use a fake 100,000 ruble banknote in a clothing store. When Rilkov gave a statement, he gave a false name, Alexander Yushenko, and police released him on the condition that he would not leave the area. A few days later, the real Yushenko contacted the prosecutor's office and Rilkov's identity was revealed. This time he had nowhere to hide. About a year later, on July 1, 1997, police arrested Rilkov in Tolyatti. The details of his crimes caused a shock in the press. When he was later asked if he had planned his murders, Rilkov answered without hesitation. The court initially sentenced him to death, but he escaped death thanks to Russia's death penalty moratorium. Instead, he received a life sentence and was sent to Black Dolphin. However, Rilkov's nightmare did not end inside Russian prison. Culture had its own black book hierarchy, and those convicted of crimes against children were at the lowest level. They constantly received threats from other inmates and often had to live in isolation to survive. The next name on Black Dolphin's list of most depraved inmates is Andrei Melyak, nicknamed the Brick Man. His crimes stand out for a different reason. Melyak did not hunt by ambushing in dark alleys, he hunted in broad daylight, following a pattern that was clearly visible but went unnoticed. From 2000 to 2002, Melyak targeted elderly women. He followed them from grocery stores or markets and attacked them with a stone or a brick as they opened their doors. He robbed their homes, taking whatever he could find. A total of 10 women died, another 10 women were seriously injured. The most disturbing part was not just the violence, it was how ordinary everything seemed. An ordinary man carrying shopping bags, a quiet stairwell, someone searching for their key in their purse. Melyak blended into the background of daily life, using familiar routines as a perfect mask. For years, investigators had almost no clues to hold on to. Survivors often could not remember his face due to the blows to the head and the attacks happened so fast that very little physical evidence was left, but over time a pattern began to emerge. The same type of victims, the same method of attack, similar locations. Everything changed in February 2002 following a failed attack. Neighbors saw a man in a camouflage jacket fleeing the scene. Police acted immediately before the lead went cold. When Melyak was caught, he confessed to all the attacks. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole and sent to Black Dolphin. In this prison, the only people you have to fear are not just the inmates. Russia's prison system has a long and brutal history, and that dark legacy continues to cast a shadow over the life of every inmate today. Between 2021 and 2022, Russia's prison network was shaken by a massive scandal. Videos and footage of attacks leaked from numerous prisons. These horrifying clips were secretly taken out by Sergei Savelyev, a former inmate. Savelyev, convicted of drug offenses, had been sentenced to 9 years in a prison in Saratov. While working in the prison's office section, he secretly copied hundreds of gigabytes of violence footage, and after his release he sent them to a human rights group. These images led to investigations, dismissals across the country, and eventually the federal prison director being unseated. But the issue was not just a single prison, it exposed a systematic pattern of abuse. Black Dolphin is known for its harsh rules, but it is also part of a two-faced system. The state presents Black Dolphin as a clean, disciplined, and efficient place, but reports paint a much darker picture. Beatings, electrocution, and systematic torture have become commonplace in Russia's prisons nationwide. Investigations by institutions like the U.S. Department of State and The Guardian document examples of electric shocks, mock executions, and constant physical violence. Although not always at Black Dolphin, this cruelty is widespread across all correctional facilities throughout the country. Today hundreds of thousands of people across Russia are held under conditions that have not changed since the Gulag era. Crumbling buildings, forced labor for a few rubles, discipline imposed instead of rehabilitation. Black Dolphin is the sharpest and most ruthless edge of this system. Constantly open lights, endless checks and exercises performed in cage-like areas. The image projected to the outside represents a perfect order, as if everything is fine, but the realities are completely different. After the 2021 leaks, some officials were dismissed, but it is almost impossible to understand from the outside if there has been any real reform in Russia's extremely harsh prison regime. Visits are rare and limited by strict rules. There are religious areas, yes, but this place feels more like a cold museum preserved against time rather than a place of rehabilitation. Living in this prison means slowly fading away within a system established for control, not for change. And if you think Black Dolphin is brutal, there are much worse ones. For example, the famous Secot prison in El Salvador. The suffocating heat there is as merciless as Russia's freezing cold, meaning it is entirely a different survival game.